So today I'm accidentally reviewing the Mercury X and the XS wash and cure stations. And the only reason I've got to is because, well, I'm kind of dumb. Look, I know how to put things in order and make things simple, but that's because I'm a simple person, but I'm not the cleverest. I mean, you should know me by now. I'm Ross, and this is Fohammer Videos. So, just like with their printer reviews, Elegoo have agreed to send me the products in exchange for an unbiased and impartial review. Believe me if you want, like, I've got enough people who do believe me, I don't need to justify myself anymore. But anyway, so they sent me this and they said it's on its way, but prior to this I'd only ever had the Anycubic wash and cure stations because, well, when I was buying printers back then, I had Anycubic printers. And I had the original wash and cure, and then I thought, well, it'd be good to have one device to wash and one device to cure, so I bought a second Anycubic one. And because Elegoo told me, we'll send you ours, I went, well, if you send me the X, I'll buy the XS, and then I'll have one for wash and one for cure. What's really good about this, and it may be obvious to everyone who's already watching, but you actually get both a wash station and a cure station in the same box. Even though it says wash and cure machine, it's actually two machines running on one power supply, which is really smart. So I'll get the big question out the way and just make myself look even stupider. What is the value of the XS over the X? Well, the XS comes with a handheld curing lamp that plugs into the side of your printer, and the point of this is to shove it all up inside your prints to cure them from the inside and avoid things like cracking because you've still got liquid resin in there. Of course, your print needs a relief hole big enough to pretty much get this inside, or at least shine it through to a good degree. But yeah, that's literally it. That's the only difference, and now I've got 4 units sat round with very little to do with them. But at least I've got a lot of containers for storing methylated spirits and isopropanol in. And yeah, I say methylated spirits. Now, when I talk about meths, most people probably think of the purple stuff that you can buy from the hardware store. But if you do a search for odourless methylated spirits, you can probably find the clear stuff that doesn't smell too much. It's certainly not as bad as isopropanol and nowhere near as bad as the purple stuff. And this you can pick up pretty cheap from the likes of Amazon or, again, hardware stores or chemical stores should be able to do this. And yeah, more people will say that this is more harmful than isopropanol. And yeah, they're probably right. Look, I'm not a chemist, but I'm going to assume, and that's probably on me and being stupid, but I'm going to assume that you are taking the correct precautions for any dangerous chemicals you have in your household. But for numerous reasons, methylated spirits is better. I'll do a separate video on why meth is better than IPA and show you all the reasons why, but generally it doesn't clump and it lasts a lot longer. Well, what can I tell you about these stations? I mean, they're wash and cure stations. They're honestly some of the most simple, basic stuff you can possibly get. They look cheap, they feel cheap. You kind of have to build them yourself. You've got these sort of flimsy light bars at the side that you have to screw in with really, really tiny screws and make sure you don't trap the cables and connect them. And I mean, it's easy, it's straightforward, and yeah, it does the job. I mean, what do you want from this? I'm honestly, I'm struggling to review it. It's a couple of units and it works. It's cheap. If you want a cheap one, this is cheap and it works. How many more ways can I say that? Works, cheap, it does. But look, in all seriousness, there are a few things I like about it. So I think it's around $200, around £200, probably a bit under that. And it's 2 units, so you get a 7 litre, although that's not brimful, you can get more in it. You get a 7 litre wash station with a pretty decent impeller on it that basically mixes up all the fluid inside of it, and then it washes all the resin off your miniatures. You've got a couple of options with this. First off is you get a cage with it, and you just lower this cage inside the container and then put all your model bits in there. This impeller, which basically it's an impeller, it pulls not pushes like a propeller. This impeller will then cycle the fluid inside and make like a mini vortex and essentially rinse all the resin off the edges of your models. It can run for up to 30 minutes. It's a bit weird when you turn it on. When I first got it, I couldn't figure out how to turn it on and where the power button was. It turns out you hold the big black knob in the center. Yes, I know what I just said. That wasn't intentional. I'm not changing it. You know what I mean. If you got a laugh out of that, ha ha. But the big spinny circly bit with the dial on, you press and hold that and that's what turns it on. I'm gonna get crucified for this. It's not wrong. I said the right thing. Now, one thing you have to be careful with this cage is if you've got some small components, yeah, they're going to fall through the bottom, and I've honestly, I've got no solution for that. I suppose the best thing you can do is just put some of this fluid, some cleaning fluid, whether it's meths, IPA, or you may have water washable, put it in a Ziploc bag and shake it. But if you're doing that, what is the point of a wash and cure station? So yeah, some people will opt to leave the parts on the build plate. Personally, I don't like doing this. Two reasons for that. One of the main reasons is if I do that, then I pretty much need to fill the entire 7 litres of this container with methylated spirits or IPA. And whilst this stuff isn't expensive, it's not cheap either. And especially with IPA, like if you leave this for a while, let's say you do a few prints and then don't use your printer or wash and cure for a few weeks, then all of the resin in there will start to make the IPA go cloudy and it'll mush up. It sort of turns into like a sludge. And then you've just ruined 7 litres of IPA instead of 2 or 3. And the other reason is, whilst my build plate's in here being rinsed, it's not in my printer printing, and I like printing stuff. Also, when you get meths, IPA or other cleaning fluids on your build plate, you can sometimes get a residue which stops future prints from printing. And yeah, I've had this a few times myself. But hey, it's your device, and if you want to use it that way, then use it that way. And you get a cage that works with most of the smaller machines from Elegoo, like the Mars's, I think some of the Saturns fit. But honestly, you'll have this a lot longer, I would expect, than any of your printers. So I wouldn't worry too much about whether or not a certain build plate size fits on this cage rest at the top. As for the cure station, as I said, you have to build this yourself, and this is where you can kind of see it feels a little bit flimsy, almost like when you bought your kid a RC car and just a cheap one, you know, the sort of 20, 30 pound ones that you get from the toy shop, and you're plugging in all the cables and everything just feels flimsy and brittle and it's going to crack. I mean, don't get me wrong, this doesn't need to be more, but it is cheap and it feels cheap. But it works, and that's the important thing. And as I said before, yep, 1 power cable and you split that between 2 devices. So it's pretty smart, you don't need to take up multiple plugs in your house, so 2 plugs will run your printer and your wash and your cure. So there you go, it's cheap, it's simple, it does the job, there's no drama. If you've got the money for it and you're looking for a cheap, simple solution, definitely start here. Now I get the feeling I'm going to get asked how long should I cure for? Well, the answer is I have absolutely no idea whatsoever. I've seen many trains of thought on this online, and I've even spoken to some brands who say, well, your print's only 70% cured when it comes off the printer. So in order to work out how long I need to post-cure it for, I need to go, okay, let's say this print was 5,000 layers and it was 1.5 seconds a layer. So it got to 70% after 7,500 seconds of curing time. So that works out at around 125 minutes. In fact, I think that's dead on. And then therefore 30% of that, let me just check the calculator, is 37.5 minutes of curing time, which for any print seems incredibly excessive. Like, what if I was printing one huge thing and then some tiny little components along with it? Do they all need 37.5 minutes? I don't know. So look, here's my way. I put it in for about 7 to 10 minutes. I genuinely just guess it each time. If it's a small print, 2 or 3 minutes. If it's a big print, 8 to 10 minutes. Yeah. Unfortunately, I never know whether I've cured anything enough, but I'll know if I've cured it too much because things start bending on the corners and warping and the whole thing starts to go really brittle. So if you've got a method to calculate the correct curing time from a print, I'll read all the best ones and try and collate that into some video in the future, and I will of course give credit to those people who gave me the answer that generally is the consensus that everyone seems to agree with. But if you're going to say why, please justify your reasons too. I want to say thanks for stopping at my TED Talk. It didn't really feel like much of a review. What am I going to say about this? It's cheap, it works. If you're looking for a cure station and a wash station and it's 2-in-1 and it takes up 1 plug socket, yeah, get it. It's the cheap one. This is the one everyone's getting anyway, so get this one. It's fine. The only reason you want a bigger one is if you need a bigger one. Okay, cool. Thanks. Alright, I do want to say seriously, thank you for watching, and thanks to our patrons for being part of the huge support we are getting lately. If you want to get your name up in the credits, then please join us over on Patreon, and if you need any printing support at all, then yeah, come over there and I will even help you get your printer working if you need me to. Again, huge thanks, really appreciate your time with this. I'm going to do a few more wash and cure stations just to see if I can get anything comparable between them. They all seem to do the same thing, just in slightly not even different ways, just different shapes. So anyway, stick around, I'll come back, I'll do more of them, lots more printer reviews coming up. This is a miniatures channel, I'll get back to that at some point. I did do a video game review, but that tanked even though it was good. Please go and watch my bolt gun review. Anyway, I'm going to shut up now, thanks for watching, see you guys next time, Fohammer out.